Good day, everyone, and welcome to our first module in this course, Construction Economics. This course is specifically designed to deepen your understanding of the cost aspect of the construction industry and how these interact with market forces, national economic trends, and property-related decisions. Although the main audience is students of quantity surveying, the principles and insights we'll discuss are relevant to all students in environmental studies, including architecture, building technology, estate management, and urban planning. Our focus in this first module will be on three broad areas. Understanding the nature of the Nigerian construction market. Examining the effect of construction on the national economy. Exploring the factors affecting supply and demand in the landed property market, including site acquisition choices and their effect on development, values, and investment. We will build this discussion step by step, so that by the end of the module, you will have a firm grasp of how market conditions, economic policies, and property decisions interact with construction activities. 1.1 Nature of the Nigerian construction market. To begin, let's define what we mean by the construction market. In its simplest sense, the construction market is the arena in which construction goods and services are exchanged. This includes the interactions between clients, who demand construction works, and contractors, consultants, and suppliers, who provide these works and related services. In Nigeria, the construction market is a highly fragmented and diverse sector. It is characterized by a large number of small and medium-sized contractors, alongside a smaller number of large firms, many of which may be foreign-owned or in partnership with Nigerian companies. The market covers a range of subsectors, including residential building, commercial and industrial construction, infrastructure development, and specialist construction services such as road building, water supply projects, and telecommunications infrastructure. One unique aspect of the Nigerian construction market is its sensitivity to fluctuations in the overall economy. Because construction projects often involve large capital outlays and long lead times, any changes in government policy, interest rates, or foreign exchange availability can have a pronounced effect. For instance, when the government increases capital expenditure on infrastructure, there is a direct boost in demand for construction services, which can ripple through the economy. Conversely, during economic downturns or when there is instability in oil prices, given Nigeria's heavy reliance on oil revenues, construction activity often slows down. Another key point is the informal nature of a large portion of the market. Many small-scale building works, particularly in rural and peri-urban areas, are undertaken outside formal contracting frameworks. While this provides flexibility and accessibility, it also raises issues of quality control, cost transparency, and adherence to safety and environmental standards. 1.2 Effect of construction on the national economy. The construction industry is often described as a barometer of economic health, and for good reason. It contributes directly to gross domestic product, GDP, and has strong linkages with other sectors of the economy. Let's break this down. First, there is the direct contribution. Construction projects involve the mobilization of large amounts of labor, materials, equipment, and finance. This translates to jobs for skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled workers, as well as income for suppliers, subcontractors, and consultants. Second, there are indirect contributions. The construction industry stimulates demand for goods and services in other industries, for example, cement and steel from manufacturing, fuel from the oil and gas sector, and transportation services from the logistics industry. This interdependence means that construction growth often drives wider economic growth. Third, construction has induced effects. Workers and firms in the construction sector spend their earnings on goods and services in the wider economy, further boosting demand. In Nigeria's context, the construction sector also plays a strategic role in economic diversification. While oil revenues dominate the national economy, infrastructure development, which is heavily construction-dependent, is essential for supporting manufacturing, agriculture, and services. For example, without reliable roads and electricity, industrial production and export competitiveness suffer. However, it is important to note that construction can also have destabilizing effects if not well managed. Excessive reliance on public sector projects, poor planning, and corruption can lead to waste of resources. Inflationary pressures can also arise when rapid increases in construction demand outstrip the supply capacity for materials and labor. 1.3 Factors affecting supply and demand of landed property. The landed property market in Nigeria is influenced by a combination of economic, social, legal, and environmental factors. For a quantity surveyor, understanding these factors is crucial because they shape the development potential and value of sites. On the demand side, factors include population growth and urbanization. Nigeria has one of the fastest growing urban populations in the world. This creates strong demand for residential, commercial, and industrial property. Economic growth and income levels. Rising incomes enable more people and businesses to invest in property, while economic downturns can suppress demand. Access to credit and mortgage finance. Availability of affordable loans increases demand for property purchase and development. Government policies, incentives, subsidies, or tax breaks can stimulate demand, while restrictive regulations can dampen it. On the supply side, we must consider availability of land. Physical scarcity of land in prime urban locations naturally constrains supply. Land tenure and ownership laws. In Nigeria, the Land Use Act vests land in state governors, with implications for acquisition and transfer. Bureaucratic delays and disputes over title can slow supply. Infrastructure provision. Developers are more likely to supply property where roads, water, and electricity are readily available. Construction costs. Rising material and labor costs can make development less attractive, limiting supply. 1.4 Choice and acquisition of sites and its effect on development, values, and investment. Selecting a site for development is a strategic decision with far-reaching economic implications. The choice of location affects not only the construction cost but also the long-term value and profitability of the investment. Factors influencing site choice include accessibility. Proximity to transport networks, markets, and services can boost the value of a site. Topography and soil conditions. Steep slopes, poor soil, or flood-prone areas can increase construction costs and risks. Legal and planning constraints. Zoning regulations, building codes, and environmental restrictions can limit what can be built and how the land can be used. Neighborhood characteristics. Surrounding land uses, crime rates, and social amenities affect both the desirability and market value of a development. The process of site acquisition in Nigeria can be complex due to the land tenure system. Developers must navigate statutory and customary rights, obtain certificates of occupancy, and sometimes negotiate with multiple stakeholders. The cost and delays involved can be substantial, and these must be factored into project feasibility studies. 1.5 Development, values, and investment in construction economics. When we speak about development, values, and investment in the context of construction economics, we are really looking at how land and property are transformed into assets that generate economic benefits. In other words, it is the process of converting a raw site or underutilized property into something of greater value, whether that's housing, commercial buildings, factories, or public infrastructure. In Nigeria, development is often driven by the need to meet housing shortages, expand business capacity, or improve infrastructure. However, the potential for successful development depends on careful economic evaluation. Value in construction context. Value can be defined in different ways depending on the perspective. Market value, the price the property is likely to sell for in an open market at a given time. Investment value, the value of a property to a particular investor, based on that investor's requirements and expectations. Use value, the value derived from the use of the property for a specific purpose, such as a factory site. In construction economics, understanding these types of value is crucial because the design, specification, and timing of a project all affect the eventual value of the finished product. Investment decisions in construction. Investing in construction is not just about putting up buildings, it is about ensuring that the returns, whether financial, social, or both, justify the outlay. Investors, which may be private individuals, corporations, or governments, typically look at return on investment, ROI, how much profit can be made relative to the cost. Risk assessment, what uncertainties could affect the success of the project, such as market downturns, political instability, or cost overruns. Time horizon, how quickly will the investment pay back? In Nigeria, a common challenge in construction investment is balancing short-term cost constraints with long-term value creation. For example, using cheaper materials might reduce immediate cost, but could lead to higher maintenance expenses and lower resale values. 1.6 Challenges affecting the Nigerian construction and property market. To be a competent quantity surveyor or construction economist, you need to appreciate the obstacles that commonly arise in the Nigerian market. These include inflation and exchange rate volatility. Since many construction materials are imported, changes in currency value can cause sudden spikes in cost. Infrastructure deficits. Poor transportation and unreliable electricity increase logistics costs and can cause delays. Land ownership disputes. Conflict over land titles can halt projects for years. Regulatory bottlenecks. Slow approval processes for permits and environmental impact assessments add uncertainty. Corruption and governance issues. This can lead to inflated project costs and compromised quality. Understanding these challenges is essential because they directly influence project feasibility studies, cost estimates, and risk management strategies. 1.7 Role of the quantity surveyor in market and property evaluation. Before we conclude Module 1, it's important to highlight the specific role of quantity surveyors in all these dynamics. A quantity surveyor's duties extend beyond preparing bills of quantities. They also conduct market research to inform cost estimates, advise clients on the financial feasibility of property acquisitions, assess the cost implications of alternative site options, monitor market trends to anticipate changes in material and labor prices, assist in securing value for money by balancing cost, quality, and time in development projects. This means that as a student of construction economics, you are not just learning abstract theories, you are equipping yourself with tools to make strategic decisions in real-world projects. 1.8 Summary of Module 1. In this first module, we explored the structure and characteristics of the Nigerian construction market, including its fragmentation, informality, and sensitivity to economic changes. The construction sector's role in driving and reflecting national economic health, through direct, indirect, and induced contributions. The factors shaping supply and demand in the landed property market, from population growth to government policies and infrastructure provision. How site choice and acquisition processes affect development feasibility, property values, and investment returns. The concept of value in construction economics, and the considerations involved in making sound construction investments. The challenges unique to Nigeria's market, and the key roles quantity surveyors play in navigating them. By now, you should have a strong foundation in understanding how construction interacts with both the economy and property markets, and how site selection and investment decisions can make or break a project. In our second module, we will move deeper into the cost control side of construction economics. We'll cover valuation methods and construction of valuation tables, cost control procedures, the cost implications of design and construction methods, budgeting for developers, preliminary estimates, and establishing cost targets. This is where the skills of a quantity surveyor are most directly applied, and it's where we link the economic concepts from Module 1 with the practical tools used in project planning and management.